Welcome to Cinema Discussions. Tonight we are discussing The Neon Demon, the latest film from Nicholas Winding Refn. And I am joined with Chris and just me, John, no other co-host today because this is one of them art films.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Oh, God forbid.
Effort to get people out to see one of these things. But before we get started in our in-depth discussion of it, we're going to give our recommendation. So how would you recommend this to people?
I'd recommend it if you're into beautiful horror movies. It's not really a horror movie. It's more like suspense.
Someone I didn't look much into it before seeing it, but someone else was saying that it was been advertised as a horror film.
That's what my mom was saying before I went. I live with my mom. I'm 22. Get over it.
All I did was going into thinking of it as an art film. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think of it as horror, but I can see kind of they have But I think if you are into, if you're into Nicholas Winding Refn,
I was going to say that,
then you're going to like that. But if you're not familiar with his stuff, Darren Aronofsky, I think this is similar to that.
There's someone else I was thinking of that it reminded me of.
A touch of Lynch, David Lynch, but not super into that. Yeah. But it kind of touches that. I think a lot closer to Darren Aronofsky. It kind of felt like Black Swan is kind of the easiest, more comparable thing to it. But if you, it's one of those things where if you enjoy those movies, you should check this one out. Yeah. But I can't say whether you necessarily love or hate it. But if you're into those kind of films, this is the kind of film that will interest you.
Or just like beautiful looking movies.
Yeah. And it's I think you'll get something out of it by watching it, and that's a good thing. It's not going to be a waste of your time if you're in for that stuff. But if you hate art films, if you're the kind of person who thought that the ending of 2001: A Space Odyssey was a complete waste of your time, like certain other co-hosts on Instant Discussion, then maybe this film isn't going to be for you. You know?
Yeah.
So now we'll. Anything else before we get into spoilers?
Well, I just want to say this movie is like one of the most beautiful horror movies I've seen since Suspiria, because it's just like Suspiria but without the horror in it. Mm-hmm. But it has this.
It is beautifully shot.
Amazing suspense.
Yes.
Amazing suspense.
Yeah. No, I think that they did cover those suspense elements very well.
And just beautiful looking.
Yeah. So now we'll get deep into spoiler alert on this film that most people won't see.
So I was reading that Elle Fanning improvised a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the scenes, I believe, or was it just the ending? Or I remember something about it being improvised.
I could buy it. I didn't. She didn't have too much dialogue. A couple of those lines were kind of powerful on it. So
I think it was the ending that was improvised.
So I wanted to look this up too because her character is 16 in the movie.
Yeah.
As of April 9th, she is 18 this year.
But when they were shooting
it, she wasn't. I was wondering about that because I didn't know her age. I know she's right around 18.
I thought she was 19 when I was watching it. So
yeah. So an interesting thing about it, and what I appreciated that they did, even for the character. So regardless of what age the actress was, the character's supposed to be 16. So they have the first scene where she's naked. So she's naked to the characters, but they don't.
Not to us. Don't worry.
Yeah, not to us. They show her shoulders up.
I like that.
That was beautiful because it still gets the point across of what's going on there, without throwing the audience off too much by just showing what you're presenting to us as an underage girl naked.
Yeah.
So you're still knowing you know all the stakes. You know the situation that they're in. And I think that was good, and they didn't show. There really wasn't much nudity in the film for as much as is suggested, or much gets close to it, until you get to the end of the film, and then you get starting with a dead body naked.
Well, I mean, there was that scene where Ruby pisses or whatever it is, and it's just all dark.
Yes,
I wish the nudity was more like that, where it's just up to your imagination.
Yeah, I mean the only that I remember, there's the shower scene, which is still like this artistic kind of way, and then there's the casual nudity when she's watering the lawn,
and the dead body,
which is the a weirder thing on that too.
It's memorable, at least.
Yeah, that'll stick in your mind, and those are the kind of scenes I was kind of waiting for from Nicholas, and the cannibalism.
Yeah.
eyeballs.
I mean, yeah, I appreciated that. Actually, it was that type of movie that makes you want to shower afterwards, is what I felt like. So it definitely got its point across.
Yeah, I was leaving the theater, and I ran into a friend who was coming out of The Shallows, and out of the film The Shallows, not The Shallows of the
the water.
And so I was talking to him about the film and about Neon Demon, and just in vague terms, but I was in this daze because the feeling of just walking out of Neon Demon, so like contemplating life and everything, and there was so trying to compare it to other things, and saying I was throwing out some stuff that he hadn't seen, but he's like, well, what about like Requiem for a Dream? And I'm like, yeah, kind of like that that kind of feeling as you're walking out of it, of that's the feeling of humanity you get at the end of it. But there's a kid there who's like really into film and stuff, and just came out of a horror movie with some blood in it on that. So, and I'm like, yeah, you gotta wait for this film. This is one you got to work into. Yeah. And I think most kids wouldn't really get the same depth out of a film like this.
I remember what it reminded me of now. Yeah. Jonathan Glazer's Under the Skin.
Oh,
that's what I
still haven't watched that one yet.
Oh my god,
I've got it sitting by.
Out of all people,
I know I have it. There's lots of films that are like on that list there.
Very similar to this, and they're like there's this suspense. The dialogue just seems kind of like on the fly, but the style of it was very reminiscent to Under the Skin.
Yeah.
So I mean that was, and Under the Skin's a good movie.
It seems like Nicholas Winding Refn doesn't need to, he doesn't use dialogue as much as visuals to get the point across in a lot of the things that he does, and you can see that clearly in Drive. Choose not to give any lines to your main character. Yeah. But you can still get everything across by the imagery.
Because I'd say the dialogue in this was a weak point.
Yeah. I barely noticed it. Yeah. Like there's a few times where it's kind of like interesting moments or interesting scenes, and as they're talking about beauty and manufactured beauty and that stuff.
I mean, and the first 12th of it, when it was all like the models talking to each other and Ruby's introduction, it seemed like it was trying to be uncomfortable, but it was just more awkward than uncomfortable to me.
No, I think it was just awkward in that, but it was familiar, uncomfortable. It was pretty pure for the human interactions that I've experienced and seen in others. Like that's pretty much how those people act. Especially any people who are in the acting or modeling worlds, where it's that thing of having that look and putting so much value on beauty and aesthetics, that it gets super cutthroat with it, and any of the casting calls things like so where they're doing the casting for, or the auditions for the runway, like that's like any casting room where you're looking around at all of these people who are all going for the same part. You're all up there for the same position, and when the person's not even paying attention to you, the casting director's not even looking at you on it, but then like gushing over this one person, then you're just like, they didn't even give me a chance. So you'd get super pissed with that.
It was the dialogue that was other than the females, the models that I liked. Like the fashion designer's monologue on manufactured beauty was a really great monologue.
That was good.
When Jessie is handing out her headshots to the casting.
Yeah, Christina Hendricks, her agent.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good scene because that actually made me feel like the Lynchian type of dialogue.
Yeah. That's why I think it was a little. It reminded me of that.
I mean, just like in Eraserhead, when Henry meets Mary's parents for the first time, I was hoping the dialogue would be more like that, where it just kind of jumps from nowhere, and it just.
And even after that scene, you get more of that just instant rejection without even giving a second thought to them. When she walks out to the other girls, like, you can go, like, without even just seeing her, not even gonna bring her in.
There was something I was gonna say, I forgot, but. One thing I wish they did was establish these cardinal sins of the models, because one of them was into like doing the plastic surgery. So you understand that she's like a fake person.
Yes.
And in the end, she wants to get her out of Jesse out of her, so she cuts herself open. I wish that, in a sense, like she'd seen herself turning into this monster, so she undoes the plastic surgery because that would have felt more karmic. The movie is kind of like, I want to compare it to sex, but it's like the movie Orgasms, but I don't, or like I do it, but it's like a really sad orgasm. The English Girl, she doesn't have a cardinal sin established, so it seems like there needs to be some type of justice with Ruby. You could have at least had her like buried alive or something like that. If they had established this better, I felt like the ending of The Cook, the Thief, the Wife, and her lover, all these people are there that have had all this wrong done to them. Mm-hmm. And then if they'd had something equal done to the thief, that would have been just good, just like in this movie, how these people do. I know that Jessie does turn into that typical model where she's full of herself.
Yeah.
But even that doesn't go up.
I think, in one sense, yeah, I think that this movie could have more depth and staying power if they had established the crime and punishment a lot better and balance that out more.
The English Girl, she could have been bulimic. And then so that way when she like eats the eyeball and she like starts like eating herself to death or something like that because she sees her in herself.
I don't know, maybe but in another sense, even though I think that they failed on that the crime and punishment, or they could have done that better. Mm-hmm. You do get another sense that I do like in these films with the cyclical nature of things. Mm-hmm. When you're showing that the problem is not solved because this is going to keep going on. As you get more people getting, models getting rejected for other models and stabbed in the back by them, and how their beauty, like they see that beauty is fleeting, that it's just like they at the end where the girls are doing their makeup before the shoot, and they're talking about how 21 you're already out of the business, well even 20 you're out of the business. That kind of thing, and so they understand that, yet still going after this and being like, and the way the one model gets when she gets back up there, the feeling of being on top, and it's like, yes, this is amazing, I finally made it, but not seeing that there's the cliff right there, that you are soon going to be back down, falling off of that as some new younger woman comes up and takes your place. And you're going to have those same feelings again going against that person, and it's just it's never going to go away. So I like those things in films when it's that kind of, I guess, in a horror aspect of it, of showing that this is the horrors of the world and you can do nothing to stop them. Yeah.
Did you know were you able to predict from the beginning that Ruby was going to kill someone?
No, Jenna Malone as an actress has this look to her that I'm always suspicious of something of her, but nothing in the character.
And they foreshadowed it in dialogue. The lipstick was red rum, and I knew, she's going to murder someone.
That was a scene. I remember thinking about that in the film, and I forgot about that.
Totally knew that was going to happen.
I had a feeling something was going on, and I remember too when she was drawing the lipstick on the mirror. I was thinking about. I was remembering, the scene red rum. I'm like, all right, this is coming. This is coming up here, and it's super interesting too. I say, silence my phone here.
Shame on you.
It's the horrific moment of when Elle Fanning is nearly raped in her room and runs to Ruby for safety, and then Ruby turns and does the same thing to her. And is forcing her sex on her, and it's like how terrible of a person there, like to be you're comforting someone who has almost been raped and by raping them, like it's showing that even like in her mind she's like, oh, I just love you and I'm with you with that, but it's you can tell that her brain's completely off at that point, and then that's then furthered by the necrophilia.
This has something that most horror movies lack, and that's a theme to it. A lot of them are just like this one's about how beauty is destructive.
Yeah, you still get it in, I think the last one I watched that had a good theme like this was The Babadook.
It Follows.
Yeah, and I just love having, and that was, No, that was a different movie I was just watching that had the same person from It Follows. It was Independence Day Resurgence. The President's Daughter.
Oh, yeah, that theme.
Anyway, not the theme, but the actress.
Yeah, I know.
I was just looking those up.
I totally forgot that was her. Wow.
But I think that makes it can make them more powerful. But I still think that the film, it's got beautiful imagery in it. It's got themes that are strong in it. It's got good moments of suspense. It's interesting that a lot of Elle Fanning and Jenna Malone are decent sized names of actresses to be leads in this film, but are they pull in bigger stars too, like Christina Hendricks just in one scene. Keanu Reeves plays a pretty small role, though larger than Christina Hendricks has, but still an important role to the plot on it. But
it did seem like I liked his delivery when he was like doing his lines of being angry, but he just didn't show it. I felt like it should have been someone that actually looked angrier rather than the one.
I think this is it builds off of what he's just done in John Wick. I
never saw that one.
Oh, that's a good one to check out.
I heard it was.
But he, because he's always done action films, done tons of action films. But the strength and menacing nature of his character in that one. So and he's got similar facial hair in this one. So it kind of continues off of that one. So that if people are remembering him from that film, then that adds to his character for this film. And that can be a big thing when you're reusing actors who've been in other things. If you want someone who's a clean slate, you get an unknown. Like in many of the Star Wars films where they get cast people that you haven't seen a ton of times before, unless it's for something where you want something that you're bringing from a pre-existing thing. So that you put Samuel L. Jackson in a role, and he doesn't need to do much to just sit there and just be like, he can give you a look, and that can be threatening
I'm
to you.
tired of these motherfucking younglings.
But you put an unknown in a film, and they don't carry that same thing. They have to prove it within their dialogue, within their character and stuff. So in that sense, I think that if that adds to Keanu Reeves' role in this. But if you're just coming off of The Matrix or Bill and Ted's, then I think Keanu Reeves doesn't carry that same weight to it. So it depends where you're coming from.
I despite weak characters, I did want to see Elle Fanning succeed. I did have that sympathy.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you lose the sympathy for her when she gets too cocky.
It's an incomplete arc. I wish they just had made her done something more that made her deserve her fate.
And super surprising the timing of her death.
Like the Shine. No, not Psycho is what I was thinking.
Because I mean, for me, a lot of times when I watch films, you look at in films and television shows, there's a main character that you're following from beginning to end. There can be a little postscript after their death, but for the most part, you're with them from the beginning to the end. I put the example of
No Country for Old Men.
In the clear one, because I see it all the time, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Your main character isn't Frankenfurter. It's Brad and Janet, because you're following them on their journey, and that's why Shock Treatment works as a sequel, because it's following their characters. You're not going the other journeys. Like Dorothy is the main character in The Wizard of Oz, not the title character, she's the main character. And in The Terminator, you got Sarah Connor. You're following her from beginning to end, not the Terminator, even though that's the title of it. So in this one, I thought it was pretty well established that it's Elle Fanning that you're following from beginning to end, and I still think she's the main character of this film. But 30 minutes before the end of the film, you lose her.
Yeah, well, it's a rule-breaking film.
Yeah, and that to me confirmed that rule, because of the way it made me feel for the last 30 minutes of the film, where your main character is gone, and you're like, so she's like, before you see her in the pool, and you're like, okay. I looked at my watch at that moment, because I had to run to something else afterwards, so I knew that the film's gonna end exactly at this time, and I need to get out of the theater. So she dies. Glance at my watch, like, still a half hour left in this movie. So I'm like, okay, did she not die? Are they just going to go in and disfigure her? Because that would have been like the obvious thing I was thinking of is, the acid on the face, the slice up her face, do something to lose her beauty.
Silence of the Lambs, make a skin suit.
something that you leave her alive and disfigured so that she's, has to live with that. But they're not thinking that far through. They're just, consumed by jealousy.
Yeah.
And so they kill her and then eat her. So, but you don't know that they've eaten her yet. You just see that she's in the pool and they go towards her. So then she's in the bathtub with the blood. They're washing the blood off her. Like, that's a lot of blood. Like, all right, pretty sure she's dead. Then you've got the digging of the grave thing. Pretty sure she's dead. And then you get the confirmation once they spit out the eyeball. You're like, all right, I don't think she's coming back from this.
I was hoping, not hoping. I had this suspicion that maybe it was some weird fetal thing would try to burst out of.
Yeah, it seemed before you know that for sure that it's the eyeball thing. When she goes away and she starts throwing up. At first it's she's looking at the pool and getting the remorse feelings of it. So being sick with herself and throwing up there. Yeah. That's what I was thinking at first there. And then the sounds she was making were just so terrible. Like, what is going on here? Part of it sounded like giving birth. Like we're going through contractions. Like see that in other films. But looking at her, I'm like, there's no way she's even secret pregnant. Way too thin to be unknown pregnancy. Mm-hmm. But it's just...
Eraserhead just gives birth to one of those.
Exactly. It also felt like the scene in Alien.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was.
Yeah, the little chest bursting thing, like those kind of horrible pains in the stomach, which I guess it could be an homage to that in some way, even with the cutting out of it. But just the pains in the stomach, get it out of me.
I love that line. And I like how that's the last line, and there's still just 5 minutes left.
And it tops off the horrible nature of the other model when she just pops the eyeball in that's been regurgitated.
But she's crying too while she's doing it, and it's
part of me's not wondering if that was the actress who's crying doing that, or the character. It's like, what am I doing? This is my legacy.
Doesn't anyone know how to chew at least?
Yeah, it seems like it's the tradition of cannibals to generally not chew eyeballs. Seen it in other films where they chew it and it goes spurts out, but you've already established that the first model didn't chew it. She swallowed it whole because it came back up.
Yeah.
So the other one's just like, all right, let's just swallow it down. Nice little treat.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm surprised. I want to know how much of her they ate, because being models,
yeah,
are you really going to eat that much?
There wasn't enough cocaine in this movie for models.
That was interesting. I think that they just weren't. I think that would have been a distraction to the themes.
Not enough cocaine though.
I think they simplified everything in this, so that you're not getting extra things in there. Mm-hmm. They definitely played with the ideas of trust on who you can trust, mostly with the first photographer that she works with. And I like going into the film, I knew nothing about the movie at all.
Yeah.
So in that first scene, you're seeing the Elle Fanning with her throat slit and the guy taking the pictures of it, the creepy looking guy taking the photos. So to me on that scene, not knowing anything about the film, I'm like, okay, are they showing us the ending of the film first? Is that kind of thing where you're like, she's already dead? Because they did, decent film makeup on her death in that one, and then she washes it off. So I know that was what they were going for that. And if I had known anything about the film, I might think about it differently. But just going in blind, thought, all right, this is the death scene at the beginning. So I thought that was done nicely.
Now, that's really all I have to say, but I do want to add, I've been tracking every horror movie I've watched because I want to see what's the scariest. This is, it ranks 55 out of 100 right now.
All right.
I use 9 parameters, like the impact of horror, the amount of terror, suspense. That was flat out 10.
One of my main criteria for horror films, for me personally, and so it doesn't affect a lot of other people, but is realism.
Yeah, that's one of my parameters too.
So anything supernatural that cuts out on horror for me.
Well, I say plausibility.
Yeah,
because there's like The Exorcist. I know it's like some people don't believe in demons, but the fact that it could happen.
All right, I was really interested in The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the one or the no, The Last Exorcism? That was it, The Last Exorcism, where they made, there are a lot of clues in that film that it's psychosis. Mm-hmm. So like they put a lot of points in there where you can look at the film that everything that's happening is still in her mind, and that's a thing where I'll forgive supernatural films for me, is when they build in enough things that it's plausible that any of the fantastic things that you're seeing are still could be happening, and that you're just that one character's imagining it, but that to the rest of the world there's a explainable theory behind it. But so things like in the remakes of Halloween, they explain enough of in there that it's just a crazy guy.
Yeah,
it's not some, he's super strong.
Oh, like in the end of the first one, how we just like.
Yeah, like you get enough things in there where this could happen, and that's a thing. We haven't gone into the film The Shallows in that one, but without spoiling anything in that film, it's a horror film about a shark. It's kind of an updated version of Jaws, or as I was saying, it's a more personal version of Jaws. So everything in that film is 100% could happen to you. If you're out on a beach somewhere, and these things that like this is how life is, and so with this in the modeling world, the way they show it, like this could be happening. This type of scenario could easily happen within the modeling world. It's far out there on things that possibly happen, and thinking could it happen to you? Unless you're in the modeling world, this exact scenario couldn't happen to you. But if you're in that, like if you show this film to a young model at some point, then it could affect her. It could be a horror film, it could be impactful.
I know, actually, the one I'm thinking of is Suspiria, because the idea is that it's witches causing it, but still just makes it so possible. And this movie, I feel like it's 100% possible. Maybe they might not get away with it for some elements.
Well, okay.
Like coughing up
one of the things that helps them to get away with it is Ruby working in a morgue. She knows a lot about that and knows easily where to dispose of bodies.
I like that idea.
Like, she's got such a connection to death in that, and what I was anticipating happening too was her having sex with Elle's dead body, because she's already had sex with this other dead body. Imagining her.
I needed more necrophilia.
I mean, it's odd that I think that they don't even need to show it in that sense, but
they start cuddling with the grave.
Yes, they cuddled with the grave, and I was wondering if part of her body was under that, and they just weren't showing that, like that she was laid down in there. That was part of what I was imagining. Again, like how much of her could they eat, so the rest of her could still be there for her, and now she's just cuddling with a partially eaten.
Technically, because she's eaten Jesse, she can just like masturbate and consider it sex because she's already inside of her.
Within her.
Yeah. That could explain like the piss sequence.
Yeah. That was definitely an odd sequence there.
Beautifully shot.
They lined everything perfectly. The lighting.
I love it. You don't see the vagina. I hate unnecessary nudity.
Yes, that was the thing that they did very well in this. I think it. There was minimal nudity in it, especially for a film in this world, in the modeling world. They really, barely showed any for it. And it wasn't gratuitous, which I could easily just distract from the film. So.
And like the only movie I give that exception would be Nymphomaniac, because the whole idea is just
it's in the title. I mean, it's got to be in there.
But yeah, I've beautifully shot, beautifully directed. Mm-hmm. And just the screenwriting might be a little bit of a flaw.
Another thing too, in the beginning of the film, so you've got the NWR on the titles, as the title credits are going off. So you've got the little NWR on the bottom of it as all the other titles are coming across, and then. Yeah, like written by Nicholas Winding Refn, directed by Nicholas Winding, produced by Nicholas Winding Refn, and then at one point it was like a film by Nicholas Winding Refn. Like, you don't say. Yeah, really.
There's just nitpicky things about this.
It's just funny little like You, I was talking with another person who had seen this guy, works at a movie theater. He was, saying definitely it's art porn, but he was conflicted as to whether he loved or hated the film.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see that on this. You're like, there's, like, it's lacking a lot of things that you want in it. There's so many points where you want it to go somewhere and it doesn't go that place, but it's beautifully shot and it gets these points across. So you're like, just that conflict of, I don't know if this is great or just infuriating.
I'd say
Mix of both on that.
I would, if I had to give it a star rating, it'd be somewhere between like 3.5 to 4 stars.
Yeah.
On beauty, it's 4, but just
I kind of was thinking 4 on this because it's pretty impactful. And the one emotion that I don't give a lot of stars to is just hatred at the filmmaker for like making this garbage, which is an emotion. Like because in my mind, the thing I want out of a film is for it to cause emotion on me. I want to feel something strong, and the stronger you can make any emotion, whatever it is, any emotion stronger. So terror in a horror film, or sadness in a Pixar film, or laughter in a comedy film, or just suspense or anything. But any type of thing, or if it's a drama, you just want a strong plot. You like any type of little things throughout that. But any emotion you can feel, and this one left me with this like pit, bottom of a pit feeling of like lost in the world and trying to make sense of things, which is a strong emotion that you get after watching the most messed up films. And like I count this on a list of of messed up movies, even though like the visuals in it aren't really as grotesque as you could say.
It's no Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, but like it's not like Antichrist, and it's not like even the Saw movies. Got more violence and stuff than in this movie, and more gruesome violence than this one. There's not a lot of that in this film, but it's the mental elements. Yeah, it makes you feel dirty, and that feeling was so strong at the end of it that it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think this isn't going to be like on my shelf as one of my favorite films, but for the mastery of what they did in that and the emotions they were able to accomplish for it, to me, emotionally, this film is a 4-star film. The plot and the script and everything would be less, but I got to give it 4 for me personally for what it made me feel.
Yeah, I hope that Refn doesn't do another horror movie, because like every director has that. It's like non-horror directors make one great horror movie: Roman Polanski, Stanley Kubrick, maybe not Alfred Hitchcock. Would you see as more of a thriller? But I mean, Psycho.
and Kubrick went jump genres all the time. It's very reminiscent of what Tarantino does. In constantly moving around genres. So he did the 2-part samurai kung fu movie, and then has now done 2 films in Western genre, but different kinds of stories. But he's one that I'm waiting for. I mean, he did Death Proof, so that was his horror film in that way. But I think it's like a sci-fi film I'm waiting for him too.
I actually haven't seen Death Proof. I've only seen the opening sequence.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'll just shit on. Anyway. Yeah, so in that idea, I want to see people who are this artistic. I do want to see them doing a variety of things.
Yeah, and say the same thing.
So I think with Refn, like with most people, I want everyone to do some sort of good sci-fi movie. So like especially something that's heavy on science in it, because it would be so beautifully shot. It's it'd be like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
It'd be like Under the Skin. If you need to watch,
okay, yeah, I'll watch them. But it's that thing of I want to see someone like this put with a large budget, sci-fi film.
Yeah,
like that's the thing with 2001. The like the sets, the big, large scoping ideas that you can get with it, and just seeing that weird side of the brain in that super artistic vision being put on that scale, because you can get it easily on this small scale. You can see these things happen, but I want to see, you know, him with the budget of an Independence Day movie.
Yeah.
But the problem is you can't. It has to be an original idea, or you know, based off of a book or whatever. But just something that's not a franchise. So you can't just put him into a Star Wars film or something like that, because then he has to follow that. It's kind of like when the Monty Python.
Terry Gilliam?
Terry Gilliam. Okay, when he was kept being talked about for doing one of the Harry Potter films, which, you know, I would love to see that. Yeah. But when you see like the Brothers Grimm, even though like I still like that movie, it's not as Gilliam-esque as his other things. And if he's put behind a studio film, especially with Harry Potter films, they have to still fit with the rest of them in the series. So unless he did the first one and establishes the genre of it, which would then be too weird for most films, but like you can't put them in charge of a franchise that's already been established, because a franchise has to fit with the other ones. You can't go too far out on it. Mm-hmm. You know, theoretically, you could do a side film on like in Marvel or Star Wars universe, but
reference Rogue One.
Yeah. Oh, so messed up. Another note too before we end this: I was carded going into this film.
I wasn't.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. But the theater I was at, I go to all the time, but I took it as that this theater was looking at this film as something that was so heavy that they're like, we gotta be sure that no minors are going into this, because we could be held liable for the horrible things that come out of this.
And it had good trailers. The ones that I saw were mostly good.
Yeah, I think they were decent. I don't remember a lot of them. I think I looked away for some of them because I've seen them too many times. Yeah. So I was like looking at my phone. I don't like seeing a trailer too many times. It just burns into my memory. Yeah. This one, I never saw a trailer for the Neon Demon.
Oh, they had one for Swiss Army Man.
Okay.
That looks so.
I've seen a ton of trailers.
We need to do that one.
Okay, we'll do that one. That one
and Nine Lives.
Technically, Swiss Army Man's technically out right now. It's just not in our area yet. So I mean, if we drove all the way to LA, we could do it. But
coming soon.
We'll see. Yeah. So 3.5 stars.
3.5 to 4, probably 4 based on beauty and aesthetic.
All right. So yeah, 4 stars. Good. Yeah. Film. Thank you for watching and listening to this review. If you've got films that are coming up down the line that you want us to talk about,
if you personally are a director and want us to watch your movie,
we'd love to see movies early. We'll check it out for you. You know the kind of stuff we like, and yeah, if you're a director and you want us to watch your movie, we're gonna give you a 5-star review, and it'll be great.
Yeah, just pay us. Pay John at least.
Yeah, and write to us at magicapetv@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Magic Ape TV. We're also on Twitter, but no one follows us there. And if you're listening to this on podcast, you can find us on YouTube, magicapetv.com. And if you're watching this on video, you can find our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and any other things like that. I'm sure they're up there. Cinema Discussions. Thanks.
Bye.